Hello, welcome, and welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. My name is Liz, and I will be guiding you on this journey. So, it's April. These messages really are, kind of whenever you see them, but I do tend to do them at least monthly. So this month we're using the Work Your Light Oracle deck, and then we're using the Wandering Moon Tarot for additional information. We'll get an Oracle card for the overall vibe, and then of course pull 6 tarot cards and see what the vibe is. I have my little bowl here of all of the zodiac, all of the human design profile numbers. I'm just gonna pick one. Great, let's see who's next. We have 1-4. The investigator opportunist. So let's get an oracle card. If you've seen these readings before, I usually have like some sort of content, to share with you about your profile. And I usually read it, like at the beginning of the message. But this time, I did find an article on the Jovian Archive website, which I believe is directly tied to like the International School of Human Design. But anyway, what? Yes, I all of a sudden I was like whisked away for a second, and now I'm back. But so I found an article on there of someone who gives their perspective of each line 1 through 6. So it's from the perspective of a 2-5 projector, which I also think is cool. So I'll link that in the description below. You would just want to read, of course, the first line, the investigator line, and also the 4th line, the opportunist line. So let's get, okay, let's get an oracle card for you for an overall vibe. For the 1-4 investigator opportunist. We have inner temple, devotion, tune in to the portal of your heart. Beautiful. I love the symmetry going on here too. There's clearly this portal here. Interesting. Let's get the rest of your tarot cards, and then we'll talk about that card. That way I can sit here and stare at it for a while too. Just kind of, connect with it intuitively. We have the Hermit. Yes. Wow. Very interesting. Talk about, I was going to say synchronicities, but I think I said before, like the symmetry with that card, but amazing. This is why I love tarot, and I love reading cards for people. Stuff like this happens. We have the 10 of Wands, the World, the Knight of Wands, 7 of Swords, that was way too many cards. We just need one. 6 of Swords, interesting. And then the King of Pentacles at the beginning. Interesting. This is so cool. I mean, I literally say that in every reading, I swear, but it's true. In every single in every single reading. So, with this inner temple devotion, tune into the portal of your heart. There's clearly a call for you to go within. And for some reason, like I had this feeling to look up what the triangle means in Hindu. I don't even know why. But I will go where the energy takes me as long as it feels good. So I was like, well, okay, let me just Google what is the meaning of a triangle in Hinduism. And it says trikona, the triangle, is a symbol of God Siva, which, like the Siva Linga, denotes his absolute being. It represents the element of fire and portrays the process of spiritual ascent and liberation spoken of in the scripture. Very interesting. And the reason why is because, like I said before, right? Like, I just kind of, as I'm shuffling the tarot cards, I just stare usually at the oracle card and, really just kind of focus, energy on what do we need to know around the vibe, right? And there's this pyramid back here, if you can see it. There's a pyramid. And then also there's this light right here, and there's a light here, 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 here. And that, to me, like, I saw that first, and then I saw this pyramid back here, but there's triangle. And what's also interesting, and that, oh my gosh, is because if I can't, I might just try to like overlay a picture of this, but the Hindu symbol that I'm looking at right now, as I Googled, the triangle meaning in Hinduism, there's an outer triangle and an inner triangle. And that's almost like what this looks like to me now. Because this pyramid, hopefully you can see that. I can't see the actual like camera screen, but if we could see the full triangle, it would go basically to like where my fingers are. And then there's this inner triangle here. Very interesting. This whole message is literally about you connecting with yourself. And that's also like what the book talks about on this card, is reconnecting with your soul. And the purpose of that is, of course, to hear a message. What's next, right? Like, what do I do? What's my purpose? Who am I? All of the big questions, right? Even if there's, like not necessarily such a question like who am I, but like even if there's a question about what do I do next, or what do I do about the situation, there is this call about getting quiet with yourself and literally sitting with yourself, which I think a lot of us have a really hard time doing, and that's just because we're not in the practice of it, right? And that's why when the Hermit card came out, I was like, oh my gosh, because these cards are literally saying the same exact thing. This is a card of Virgo. There could be a Virgo involved. There doesn't have to be. But, I mean, we could literally see this person sitting on top of this mountain. It's clearly nighttime. They have their lantern right there. That's just, it's illuminating the spot that's like literally right in front of them. So there's also a message about just paying attention to what is right in front of you, which is also a message about remaining present. Because, if we try to think too far in the future, we get anxiety. If we are living in the past and making decisions based on past shit, then we are living in fear. So the only true reality is like what is happening now. So again, right, there's this message about I mean, like maybe a meditation practice, however that looks for you, right? That's not necessarily just, sitting in silence. It could be a guided meditation, it could be a walking meditation. Basically, that, something to where, like your focus is on one thing. Because usually in meditation, we're focusing on our breath, or with a guided meditation we're focusing on where we're being guided to in that meditation, right? I mean, you could listen to music, but there's also the intention behind calming the mind, right? Like really getting connected deeply with your soul. And then with the Knight of Wands under it, you could be in a position where you are trying to decide what to do next. Like I mentioned before, the Knight of Wands, it's fire. This card, or the triangle, actually, excuse me, represents the element of fire, at least in Hindu. And, wands talk about action, communication. It's our creativity, it's our passions, desires, but how are we acting on those things? How are we communicating those things? It's also information, which a first line loves. And our sense of security, if we have a first line in our profile, comes from knowledge, from deeply understanding a subject. But the Knight of Wands, it's one of the faster acting knights out of the deck, because like they are ambitious. They're going to go after something, right? There's a playful energy to it. Maybe even like a bit arrogant, but it's like the type of arrogance or even like delusion, but like not delusion in a bad way, but the delusion that'll like make you take a risk, right? A sprinkle of delusion is, we all need it, because it also like it comes with this like spark of like believing in ourselves, right? Like believing that something is possible. And I love that. So this could be, again, like if you are in a position where, maybe you even want to tap into some sort of creative project or a passion of yours, or even discover that. But also, just like a match is not going to burn forever with the Knight of Wands. So there could be, by going into hermit mode, there could be, like just something that you discover, and it's like you take a chance at something, and it's like the ripple effect from that, or maybe you already have. It's interesting because it feels like this is something that you would want to do. Maybe you've tried doing, but it's like the energy of the thing is not gone. Like you might still be thinking about it. And because in the middle, we have the 10 of Wands and the 7 of Swords. The 10 of Wands generally talks about burden and being overwhelmed. It's also a 10, so it's a completion. And like I was saying with Wands, right? It's information. And when we get to the 10 of Wands, it's like all of those life lessons that you've picked up along the way from the Ace to the 10. Some of them were great, some of them were not. But that's, like by trying things, that's what we pick up knowledge. We become more wise. We figure out what we like and what we don't like. We figure out what works and what doesn't work. But they're all lessons. So we're carrying all of that information with us. So, the 10 of Wands doesn't necessarily have to be a bad quote unquote card, but it does signify the end of a burden. Like if you feel overwhelmed, or if you have felt overwhelmed, this would signify that period of time in your life would be coming to an end. And that could be because of this. Because, I mean, you could be taking the experience and the information that you do have, and this could be what you're conspiring to do. Like, you know, how do I want to move forward? What is it that I want to pour my energy into? And then we have the Seven of Swords. Again, it's like one of those cards that can really go either way. So, I mean, we'll talk about both ways. Traditionally, it talks about trickery, manipulation, secrecy, you know, like kind of, you know, like doing things in I keep wanting to say silence, but that's not actually what I'm trying to say. And swords have to do with our thoughts. It's our mind, it's our perceptions of reality. It's also our ego, because that's generally where we hear our ego is in our minds. And our egos are made up of the stories that we attach to experiences in our lives. So it can also be self-sabotage, because it's like, you know, you're not allowing yourself to move forward, or because maybe you feel burdened already or you feel overwhelmed already. It's like, I can't possibly do this thing. I can't possibly take that risk, because the Seven of Swords is also a risk. Because in the traditional tarot, there's usually a figure that's like tiptoeing away from a camp with these seven swords. And what they did was they basically like handicapped their quote unquote enemy by stealing their swords. And that's kind of where that manipulation thing comes from, right? Because, you know, I mean, that's usually what people try to do with manipulation, is they try to control the narrative, but it is a risk. So it's interesting, because I feel like there was like a risk element, you know, like with this pair too. So, you know, honestly, it would depend on your situation. Is somebody else involved in this? Because there are two hands in this card. This is the only card that has seemingly two different people in it. There's two people here, but those look to be a mirror image of the same person. And granted, this could be the mirror image of the same person too, just coming in, you know, from different sides. This would be, the left side of the card is the past, the right side of the card is the future. There would be 5 wands on each side. So it's also kind of like, you know, you might be stuck in this place of, if I move forward, then, you know, there's this obstacle. And if I go back, or if I stay in the current situation, there's this obstacle. And that could be where you know, like I said, like the self-sabotagey thing is coming into play. The situation itself could even be playing tricks on you. However that would work, that came to mind. That's also all the more reason to center and get quiet. Also check in with your strategy and authority, because your strategy and authority is literally designed to help you enter into the correct experiences, whether it makes sense or not. And if you are in the not self theme of your strategy and authority, then that would be saying that you are basically going against, right, like your own design. So you would want to check in with your strategy and authority, and then your profile is how you interact with, you know, the experience that your strategy and authority gets you into. So if this is something, you know, like that you're stuck in, then this quiet thing, you know, really reconnecting truly with yourself, right? Even like putting your root chakra on the ground, if that's accessible to you. It could be even sitting on a chair, putting your feet on the floor, you know, flat on the floor, and just focus on intending, roots coming out of the bottom of your feet and grounding you into the earth. But also, like not to the point where you're immobile, but to the point where your feet are, like you are grounded, but at least move forward-able. Because what's awesome here is that we have the world with the Six of Swords. The world is the end of a cycle. There's clearly something in here that is coming to an end. And this is the process that's going to get you there. And it just, when we get to the world, it's like what we needed to get out of a situation, we got. The lessons that we needed to learn, we did, right? We picked them up. We went through the whole fool's journey. And this is kind of like a graduation. And the purpose of the world is that so one journey ends so that a new one can begin. Because it's all cyclical, right? So right after the world, we go into the Fool. And that's a new journey. And I know we don't have the Fool card out here, but that's how it works. And then we have the Six of Swords. And so it's interesting because at some point you are going to make a decision to leave behind a thought pattern, a behavior pattern. You could be up and moving to some degree. Because this depiction of the Six of Swords, at least throughout these readings, this to me feels like a mindset shift. Oh my gosh. What is also, and actually before I actually get there, I'm trying to get better at like remembering this. I'm going to insert here a self plug. If you haven't done so already, I would love if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and leave a comment, even if it's just emojis. I love emojis. But my intention, and I am pouring all my energy into growing this beautiful channel, beautiful community, and obviously I cannot do that without you. So if you could do one of those things, I would be endlessly grateful. And okay, back to you. My quick 20-second commercial. What is awesome is that we start with a hermit that is sitting at the top of this mountain, right? And then in this card, these are the only two cards that have people in them. And in this card, they're walking away. Oh my gosh. Do you see this? You see. Amazing. Amazing. But these Six Swords are in the ground. They're not even carrying one with them. So like I said, right? Like this is leaving behind a mindset. This is leaving behind a way of thinking about something, or even like a certain perspective that you have on something. And this is like deciding to, I don't know what I was just going to say. It's gone. It left my brain. So that could be happening too. Speaking of the mind, I also kind of love that we go from the Seven of Swords to the Six of Swords. Because again, like clearly, right, we're missing one sword on the Six of Swords. So there's definitely something that was like absolutely not. Taking that off the table, 100%. It's just very interesting. And like I said, the right side of the card is the future. They're walking towards the right side of the card. And this figure is facing the left side of the card. So that would be contemplating the past. This could even be contemplating, like I was saying before, I think I said, an action that you already took, like something that you already tried. And maybe it was just like this, kind of spark of energy that like it had a large flame for a second. And like I said, even with the analogy with the matches, like it burned out kind of quick. And maybe it's just like, well, that's just what's going to happen with everything. No, because we have the King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. This is the highest expression of the suit. Pentacles have to do with our money, how we get it, how we save it, how we invest it. It's our time, it's our physical body, it's our house. And, kings are also leaders. So There's a successful element that comes along with the King of Pentacles. This is also like practical solutions, being in a position of authority. So it's almost like there's something better clearly waiting for you, or there's something better out there, but it's just like you getting centered on it. And we have the Three of Wands, which is literally a path here. This is taking action on a newer path because it's a 3. So we start with the Ace of Wands, which is that spark. The Two of Wands is like, okay, now that I have this, like, what am I going to do? It's planning on what actions you're going to take. And then the 3 is like when you actually step foot, and you know, it's one foot in front of the other with the Three of Wands. And actually we have the Two of Wands even behind. How interesting. Because there's the Devil card right between these two. And the Devil card talks about the things that we let control us. It's a card of Capricorn, so there could be a Capricorn, there doesn't have to be. But it's, you know, like the obsessive thoughts. It's addiction. And addiction can be anywhere from numbing or distraction to, of course, a substance. So it's interesting that the Devil comes up between the Three of Wands and the Two of Wands. We just talked about the Two of Wands, right? This is, to me, this feels like a message about staying in like integrity, because then there's the Queen of Wands behind here. It really feels like not going for the shiniest thing because you think it's like skipping steps to get to a point of success, because it's almost like if you do that, and you know, I mean, it's all information too, right? It might just be something that you need to go through, but it's like if you do that, it would like almost like knock you down a peg. Like you would end up having to go back to planning. Let me see what the book says on the Devil. Will you let me lead you into temptation? I know your inner desires and your inner demons. They are one and the same. The choice is yours. It says a reversed pentacle, a symbol often associated with the Devil, wears a pair of elaborate horns. The horns are symmetrical. Interesting, because we have the symmetrical energy with the inner temple. Well kept and show a level of power and dominance. This, however, is a facade, much like the masks we wear when our life spirals out of control. As we desperately cling onto the lie we want the world to see, to demonstrate the more positive, freeing aspects of this card, there is a glittering galaxy of stars weaving through the pentacle, showing freedom and light. I love that they like sprinkled in a little jolly in there, you know? Yeah, I mean, this really just kind of seems like, this almost kind of seems like this is the like mask that is being worn to like the public, you know, like your outer mask, that you have your shit together. And I'm not trying to like call you out, you know, I want to be like sensitive to this because of course, like this is a journey, you know, but I'm going to say what's here, you know. And even this path here, it could even be something that like you don't even necessarily want, or that like somebody would want for you. Because the Queen of Wands is, you know, also like very confident. This is a card of like, you know, I see queens as when we embody the energy of the suit ourselves. Oh my gosh, my dog agrees. And, wands, again, right? Action, communication, creativity, passion. So this is like somebody who knows themselves, like knows what they want to do, is very confident. There's 2 earth cards here, 2 fire cards. Well, 3 technically with the Queen of Wands there. And it seems like this is something that like you have to work through. And it's almost like, since it is going from the 3 of Wands to the 2 of Wands, I just got the chills all along the right side of my body. That's weird. But, this path could be, this could be a path that you are back here, on, right? And coming down. And even maybe like reviewing the actions that you've taken so far, because then right on the other side of the 2 of Wands, or the 3 of Wands, is the 2 of Wands. So then it's like, again, we go from the 7 to the 6, right? So there's a wand missing here. And it could be this, whatever this devil card is that is being released. And then what's also interesting is that the Queen of Wands is holding 1 wand. And, this could just be like something that is really scary to you, like just something completely outside of your comfort zone. And I think I said maybe in the beginning, like there's an element of courage here. I'm not sure if I said that during this reading, but there is an element of courage here. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here and letting me read your cards. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.